1:47 a.m. The world is shrouded in a heavy, suffocating silence, but in the shadows of the Catalina foothills, a calculated execution is reaching its tipping point. The blue LED on the doorbell camera flickers once, a digital heartbeat skipping, and then goes black. This wasn't a glitch, and it wasn't a power outage. It was the first move in a career execution that has been months in the making. At 2:12 a.m., the system's infrared sensors detect a presence, a thermal ghost moving through the property, but the lens is blind, rendered useless by a professional bypass. Then, at exactly 2:28 a.m., the most chilling signal of all occurs. A medical device, a pacemaker keeping 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie alive, pulses its final status report to a remote server and then falls into a terrifying, permanent silence. 41 minutes. That is the window that changed everything. That is all it took for Nancy Guthrie, a woman connected to the highest echelons of the American media machine, to vanish into the desert air. Savannah Guthrie, the woman who brings the news into millions of homes every morning on NBC's Today Show, has now become the headline she never thought she would have to read. But the story the mainstream media is feeding you is a sanitized version of a much darker reality. They talk about mysterious kidnappings, but they are ignoring the digital fingerprints that point to a coordinated industry hit on Savannah Guthrie through her mother, Nancy Guthrie. Imagine the terror of realization. When Savannah Guthrie received that first call, it wasn't from the police. It was a notification from a health monitoring app. The app didn't say her mother was missing. It said her mother's heart had essentially desynced from the network. This implies a level of sophistication that goes beyond a common criminal. We are talking about signal jammers that can isolate a specific frequency, the frequency of a human heart. Right now, locked away in a high-security federal evidence locker, exists what insiders are calling the digital black box, a set of encrypted home security logs that the FBI has been desperate to keep under seal. This isn't just about a missing person, it's about a breach of the most protected circles in the industry. To understand why Nancy Guthrie was taken, you have to look past the broken locks and look at the liar's lens. Weeks before the abduction of Nancy Guthrie, the on-air persona of Savannah Guthrie began to fracture. If you analyze the January broadcasts, you see the forced smiles and the white-knuckled grip on the anchor desk. Savannah Guthrie knew the perimeter had already been breached. She was receiving silent calls in her dressing room, calls that consisted of nothing but the sound of desert wind. The Catalina foothills are marketed as a sanctuary for the elite, but for Nancy Guthrie, it became a cage. The suspect didn't just stumble upon the home of Nancy Guthrie, they scouted it with surgical precision. They knew the exact blind spots of the motion sensors. They knew that at 1:45 a.m., the local patrol car takes its break 3 miles away. While the world was watching the news, someone was watching Savannah Guthrie by tracking the pulse of Nancy Guthrie. Think about the geography of the foothills, the jagged rocks, the deep arroyos, the places where a person can disappear in seconds. This was a low-noise operation. When the family arrived at nearly noon the next day, they found a house that looked undisturbed, except for the void. A single agonizing drop of blood on the porch, confirmed as the DNA of Nancy Guthrie. But here is the detail they buried. The blood wasn't from a struggle. It was a signature. A single, clean drop placed perfectly in the center of the welcome mat. It was a message to Savannah Guthrie. The media focused on the forced entry, but they missed the double-layer mystery. The intruder didn't just take Nancy Guthrie and run. Forensic timestamps show they stayed inside for 15 minutes after Nancy Guthrie was already gone. They were seen on a neighbor's peripheral camera, not carrying a body, but carrying a server rack. They weren't there for her jewelry. They were there for the private cloud data that Savannah Guthrie had backed up there for safety, away from the prying eyes of the network. As the investigation ignited, a digital inferno swept through New York City. High-profile anchors began scrubbing their metadata in a panic. This was never just about the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie. It was a war for information targeting the secrets Savannah Guthrie held. Even the arrest of Derek Kella, the man accused of sending fake ransom notes, feels like a calculated distraction. Derek Kella provided the predatory noise designed to flood the investigation. Sources suggest Derek Kella was paid in untraceable cryptocurrency just days before the abduction. Was Derek Kella a lone wolf, or was he a hired ghost meant to take the fall? Derek Kella was the pawn. The real players are still out there, watching this video, waiting to see if the truth leaks. Consider the glove evidence found 2 miles away. Law enforcement calls it a lucky break. I call it a breadcrumb trail. The DNA on that glove doesn't match any known criminal database. It's clean. This suggests a ghost, someone with military-grade training, or a professional cleaner. The direction of travel points toward the mountains, toward the wilderness where signals die. Every second that passes is a ticking clock for Nancy Guthrie, whose life depends on a device that requires daily synchronization. For Savannah Guthrie, every morning she sits in that anchor chair is now an act of psychological survival. She has to read the news about politics and weather while her soul is screaming for the woman who raised her. Savannah Guthrie knows that a single wrong word or a single unauthorized leak could be the death warrant for Nancy Guthrie. This is the ultimate career execution, a hostage situation played out on live television where the ransom isn't money, but the absolute control of the narrative. But the most terrifying revelation lies in the Wi-Fi logs from the night Nancy Guthrie vanished. At 2:12 a.m., the home network of Nancy Guthrie was used as a gateway to upload a massive, encrypted file to a rogue server in Eastern Europe. That file didn't just contain secrets about Savannah Guthrie. It contained a folder labeled with the name of another A-list celebrity, a blacklist of names that could topple the entire media industry. The rabbit hole doesn't end with Nancy Guthrie. It's moving to the next target. They want the story of Nancy Guthrie buried because the truth would start a nuclear chain reaction in Hollywood. They want you to look away from Savannah Guthrie and focus on the fake leads provided by people like Derek Kella. We are looking at a 90-day silence that is unprecedented for a case of this magnitude. 30,000 tips and not a single suspect? That isn't failure, that's suppression. The $1 million reward remains untouched because the people who know the truth are afraid of something much worse than poverty. They are afraid of the people who can disable a heart from a mile away. If you want to stay protected from the cover-up and see the evidence they are trying to delete, you must subscribe now. This video is being flagged as we speak. I need to know your stance. Is Savannah Guthrie a victim of a coordinated system hit? Or is Savannah Guthrie keeping the monster's secrets to save Nancy Guthrie? Could the ransom never have been about money, but about silence? Type victim or monster in the comments below. I am tracking every response. I will be featuring the most investigative theories regarding the 41-minute window of Nancy Guthrie, the silence of Savannah Guthrie, and the true motives of the ghosts behind Derek Kella in Part 2. The clock is ticking and the signal is fading. The war is just beginning.